Hello and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and books. Today I am going to be getting ready while I talk about some recent reads. I haven't done one of these in quite a while. I'm sorry. I always just get up in my head about reviews and I'm like I gaslight myself into thinking like no one cares about what your thoughts are on books, and tell myself that my reviewing skills are not good and then I don't end up doing them, but we're doing it today. I'll try and wrap up all the other books that I've read recently. And yeah, I'm doing it in another get ready with me format because I feel like it's fun. It's like casual, we're hanging out, we're getting ready together, it's like sleepover vibes, and yeah, let us get into the books. Okay, get ready with me or while we talk about some books. If you're ever wondering if I'm being honest about the chaos, all of my makeup is upstairs, but I wanted to film down here with like the books in the background. So I brought all of my makeup that I thought I would need down. And this is what I brought it down in, like a kid's shopping trolley. All right, let us start by priming. Is this mirror good? Is the lighting okay? I don't freaking know. Now, to start with in this discussion video today, there was a book that I did want to review, but unfortunately I cannot. If you did not hear, there is a boycott currently happening, or it's happening while I'm filming it, I'm pretty sure, for St. Martin's Press and the imprints, which I think Wednesday Books is the one that comes under it. And one of the books that I had planned to talk about is, I think, published by them in America. I'm obviously not in the US, so for me, I had to do a bit of a conversion to see who publishes what. But if you are unaware, I'll talk about it here since I don't think I've talked about it on my YouTube channel yet. But essentially, an employee was posting some really disgusting things on their public social media. And this employee is also in charge of which influencers get arcs as well, I believe. And so when people saw that this employee of the publisher was doing this, people contacted the publisher and they've been radio silent. So all people are asking pretty much is for a statement from the publisher saying we don't agree with this racist opinions. I don't know what words I'm allowed to say on YouTube without it getting flagged, but I'll link below some information about it. But yeah, the book that I was going to talk about was a fantasy book. The sequel comes out next month, but I'm not going to talk about it because I think that we need to stand up to things like this. And side note, if you see people saying that the reason the boycott is happening is because an influencer didn't get the arc they requested, that is misinformation that is being spreaded strategically because I guess people are trying to make it seem like it's over like a trivial, silly little thing. And from what I'm aware from my research into this, the reason that popped up is because all of this stuff with this employee was discovered. It was found out that creators who are not white were requesting things and never getting accepted for them, whereas white creators who have less followers and don't usually post about the books were then commenting saying, I've gotten accepted for every single request I've ever sent, even though I don't always post about them. So it's pretty clear that the boycott needs to happen because if this employee is posting awful stuff online, they obviously believe it, and that is bleeding into the workplace. It is affecting the publisher as well as the authors and the influencers as well. So it affects everyone. So if you would like, I will leave some links below to that. But basically we're being asked not to review the books within those imprints publicly so as not to give them free publicity. I think you can still read and buy the books, you just can't post about them publicly. So I'm participating in that, even though I'm kind of confused about which Australian publishers like the crossover, but I'm doing my best. So let's get on to the makeup. And instead of the first book that I was going to review, I'm going to review a different fantasy book. This one is an Australian author. So let's start talking about the Nevermore series. Oh gosh, that all came out. So this is a middle grade book series written by Jessica Townsend. There are 3 books out currently, but I think it's meant to be quite a long series. So I had read the first book, Nevermore, originally, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, and I had not continued on with the series, but I had obviously been wanting to, so I reread the first book so that I could then continue on and read the second and third book. And I would recommend this series, even though it's middle grade, and I know not everyone likes middle grade books, but for me, adult fantasy is sometimes hard to get into as a non-fantasy reader. But Honestly, the Nevermore series it feels nostalgic even though it was the first time I'm reading it. It's because it reminds me of so many other popular series while I was growing up and a teenager. I guess just because it has similar tropes. And it just has a comforting writing style, I think. It is basically about this girl named Morrigan who lives in this world where she was born on this like unlucky day. And so she is told that she is a cursed child, and because of the day that she was born on, she is cursed to die on her 11th, I think, birthday. And everyone within this world that she lives, she is like this cursed child, so she gets blamed for pretty much everything that ever goes wrong. Her 11th birthday rolls around, and instead of dying, this person shows up and whisks her away off to the magical world of Nevermore and introduces her to all of the things happening there. So it's very like Harry Potter-esque because she's stuck living in this situation with pretty crappy parental figures. And then she's taken off into this magical world. And it definitely also gives me like Hunger Games and Divergent vibes because she is in this magical like game tournament where people are getting eliminated each round, not getting killed like in the Hunger Games. So it's definitely more middle grade than it is young adult. But I thought it was really, really fun and I would recommend it. All right, next up, let's talk about an arc maybe. I have been saying for years that I was going to, this is way too light. Was going to start reading arcs, and this year was the year that I finally did it. Unfortunately, I have not loved them all. So one book that I'm trying to alternate and do like a positive review and then a negative review. So unfortunately, we're up to the negative review. So I read Her Own Happiness, which I had read from this author before. So I was really interested to see another book from them. And while there were things that I liked from this, unfortunately, it was not a book for me. Things I love that this author does. She always has a really diverse cast of characters in her books, and this one was no exception. So the two main characters were plus size. They were also, the female main character was black, and I think the male main character was also, I think he was mixed because if I'm remembering, his mum was living in Puerto Rico as well. There was also a sexual rep in this, which I can't speak to how well it was done, but there were a lot of discussions around it within the book. Her characters are always queer, and I just really appreciate that she has so much representation within her book, so that's nice. What was unfortunate about this is that the main character was just so immature. I'm really sick of reading 30-year-olds or almost 30-year-olds that are acting like teenagers. I'm going to use bronzer. I got this from a Kmart, and this was like the darkest shade they had. I think it's meant to be like a dupe for the Chanel one, but like this is the darkest, like be for real. But whatever. Anyway, so we're following this main character who I think she's 31. She is living in Hawaii and she has to move back to, I forget where her parents live, but she has to move back in with her parents. And I usually love books where a 30-year-old is dealing with a life change, you know, a breakup, a job change, whatever. So I thought this would be that, but she did not. She acted like she was 16, unfortunately. It was also unfortunate timing because when this book came out was right around when the Hawaii fires were happening, which is obviously not the author's fault because she wrote it before that. But the reason she has to move back is because her workplace, which is this youth center, catches on fire. So obviously she no longer has a job, and so she has to move back home. But she is just so like insensitive about it because obviously the fires affect her since she's lost her job. But the woman who owns the fire is like a native Hawaiian woman, who also lost her home within the fire. And all of these children who have now lost the youth center that is probably their safe place to go after school have lost that. But she doesn't care about any of that because she has to move in with her parents, which not that she's not allowed to be upset about it, but it's just, it would be nice to have seen some empathy for the other people who were also affected by this fire. It's also set during COVID, so there's lots of talk about that. And she was just really insensitive to other people who were being affected by COVID and who were immunocompromised, and she just only really cared about herself. She was really self-centered, and I just couldn't with her. It does also have a lot of discussions about mental health, and I know that her mental health struggles were also probably contributing to why she was acting like this, but like, I don't know. I just prefer to read from a more empathetic, caring character, and this just wasn't it, unfortunately, which I'm really sad about. But moving on, let's talk about a book where we are following an unlikable character, but that I actually enjoyed, because I can enjoy books where the character is unlikable. By the way, I feel like I'm gonna try this like strawberry makeup that was trending a while back. So I'm gonna go for like red tones. So I read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I'm sure you've seen around. I just really went for it there. Like, I don't know if this is gonna turn out. I'm sure I don't need to pitch it to you and you already know what it is about, but we are following these two author friends, and this isn't working out very good. But one author is an Asian woman and she is very successful. The other author is a white woman who has not seen the same success, and they are having a catch up and the Asian woman dies. This is in the synopsis, don't worry. And so the white woman steals the novel that the Asian author had been working on, and she decides to publish it under her own name. So she uses a pen name that kind of implies that she is maybe Asian, and she like gets tanned for her author photo, like she is trying to pretend basically. And I just thought that this book had so many great discussions about the publishing industry and books. I know that it has had mixed ratings, and it is so odd to be following a character that is just so shitty. Like, some of the things that she says in this is just like, you cannot possibly think this is okay. But I just thought it was a really fun, and yeah, I'm just so glad I read it. I just thought it was so fun. All right, I'm gonna set and move on to another book that I unfortunately did not like, that I thought I was gonna love. And this one is really good actually, which was not good. I literally thought that I was going to love this. It is pitched as this 30-year-old woman who is going through a divorce, and I thought it was gonna be like finding herself. Like I said before, I love, you know, late 20s, early 30s women who are going through a life change. But this was one of the most frustrating books to read because the main character is simply so annoying. She has no personality traits other than the fact that she is divorced. And all she did is complain for like 400 pages. She was basically just looking for a new person to be in a codependent relationship with. She did not want to find herself. She did not want to be happy on her own. She wanted someone else to supply her with happiness, which I'm not into that. I wanted her to discover herself outside the relationship and learn how to be happy on her own and how to be independent on her own, and now that she's divorced. But this was just so infuriating to read. She was so bland. She had no personality. Her personality was just divorced woman. Let me read you something out of the book. One of her friends asked whether they spend too much time talking about sex and dating, and she literally responded, I just think, like, what else is there? Like, she was just uninteresting and annoying, which is just the worst combination. So this has to be one of my worst books of the year. Should I try and do freckles? I feel like I'm gonna ruin everything, because I feel like I see with the strawberry makeup that they do freckles. Okay, it doesn't look good on me. Oh, mistake. Okay, how do I fix this error? Okay, the freckles did not turn out. Ah! All right, let's end on a positive note. So an arc that I did read recently that I enjoyed, that is very seasonally appropriate for those of you who don't live in Australia right now, even though I think the author is Australian. It was called Not Just Gal Pals, and I was quite surprised that I did enjoy it. It is a sapphic romance book. It is set in America, like during like Thanksgiving time, which I'm pretty sure is like right now. It's between Halloween and Christmas, right? Anyway, so the main character is an influencer, and she is going back to her hometown for a friend's wedding. So it is a small town romance. And one of the other women who is part of the friend's wedding is this girl from her high school who she didn't really get along with. And they end up having to work together to work on some things for the wedding. And obviously it's a romance, so I think you can assume what's gonna happen. Okay, I did not do a good job of this. Tried to do like a quick sweep of color, and that did not go good. One of the main characters also had dyslexia, so that was talked about a little bit. And there were also some interesting comments that I really liked. Obviously one of the characters is a social media influencer, and at one point she said, people can lose their livelihood over genuine mistakes, while some rich famous white guy who has sexually harassed a number of women can avoid censor or bounce back quickly. Like, I think we can all think of quite a few white men on social media who never have to worry about cancellation. Like, they're just always there no matter what they do, even if it's terrible. Also, the third act conflict was really realistic between two adults. It wasn't something silly little conflict that was brought in to try and have like a forced third act breakup. Like, it felt realistic. And this is an example of what I was talking about before, of a main character that was not relying on their significant other to provide them with happiness. The quote that I had written down said, "She wasn't making my mistake of planning her whole life around a love interest. She'd found something she was genuinely passionate about and was pursuing it with fervor." Like, it just felt like they were realistic for their age, which was quite refreshing, and I liked it. All right, I think that's it for the few little reviews that I wanted to do today. I will try and film some more of these like wrap-ups so you actually have my opinions on books, because I always do TBRs and then I don't tell you what I actually read. So, but if you'd like to follow me on Goodreads, I do try, and lately I've been trying to keep things up to date on there. But yeah, thank you for watching this silly little video. Thanks for hanging out with me while I get ready. Let me know which of these you have read or that you are considering reading. And don't forget to check out the boycott if you would like to stay updated. I try my best. The internet moves so fast, so I try and keep up to date with information, but sometimes I miss things. But yeah, hopefully they put out a statement soon so that we know where we stand with this. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.